protests, we did see a number of young people say we'd want, Matiang'i for reasons, they were stating. But then wing the Gen Z voters, who are actually going to be quite the bunch of them when it comes to 2027, a number of them expected to be, potential voters, wing this crop of voters would be different. Would you agree?
First of all, let me respond to what Ishmael has indicated. Chief Justice Emeritus Maraga has succeeded in strategic visibility. I mean, the last couple of days is getting very good attention. But the challenge with strategic visibility is that there is no messaging. So, you may be doing all the tunnels, but at the end of the day, what message do people take home? When you're a Chief Justice and Ishmael is a lawyer, in the courts you issue orders,
yes,
and people have no alternative but they have to listen to those orders. But in the political space, the only time you give orders is when the people have given you power. You have to persuade them. And so far, I've not seen that persuasion capacity coming from Maraga. And then he has also committed a fundamental mistake that Ishmael has mentioned, that a few days ago, he appeared to be very firm when he spoke in his mother tongue. The presidency is supposed to be a symbol of national unity. So the moment you start addressing people in your mother tongue, not oblivious of the role of the presidency, then people start asking questions that what kind of candidate are you? Although again, this is very early days. We have about 2.5 years to the presidential election.
Yes.
So he's got time to recalibrate. But again, he has not demonstrated the killer instinct. In the political space, if you want to win any elective seat, you must demonstrate to the entire world that in fact you've got this huge, insatiable appetite for this position. Even the way he speaks, there's a bit of a lack of energy. But again, he says he's still exploring his options. So he has not taken a decision. Now, coming to the germane issue of Gen Z, Gen Z are going to move the needle in the 2027 elections. But again, we must not assume that Gen Z are homogeneous. I mean, Gen Z in Kisumu or Nairobi, or even in Nairobi, Muthaiga, Lavington, Buruburu, they're not homogeneous. But a successful politician, whether you are running for MCA or whether you are running for president, you must identify the needs, interests and aspirations of the voters and craft a message aligned to their interests. On average, the average voter in Kenya is a very rational human being, according to economics. I mean, for 4.5 years. But as you approach the elections, then they become victims of their tribal thinking. I mean, you recall during the Gen Z demonstrations, there were demonstrations almost everywhere in Kenya. But as soon as Mr. Raila Odinga said that he is donating a number of experts to join the administration, people from his stronghold said they're not doing mandamanos anymore. And when people asked them, so what is the deal here? They said, you guys calm down. We have donated some experts to this administration. You remember Gen Z were complaining about the state of the economy. They said, no, wait a minute. Mbadi is now the CS for finance. Give him time to turn around the economy. And it seems that Kenyans are victims of the Stockholm syndrome. The majority of us are falling in love with our captors, that we really embrace them. That is why when Mr. Raila Odinga pronounces himself, his word is as good as law. That is when former President Kenyatta pronounces himself, his word is as good as law, even for President Ruto. In fact, this conversation would even be more interesting if we say, assuming that President Ruto is not in the equation, former President Kenyatta is not in the equation, and maybe Mr. Raila Odinga and maybe Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, how would these candidates fare on their own? But at the end of the day, as we really approach these elections, anybody who wants to run for this political office must come up with a strategic communication anchored on research and data. Time is gone when you'll just go to go to a baraza and talk to people, and there's no two-way communication. People are not going to listen to that because the average Kenyan today is literate. However, as you approach the elections again, I may appear to be contradicting my own words, but as you approach the elections, the average voter becomes emotional and irrational. This is when they remember that they come from a particular hill, they come from a particular village, and as they approach the ballot box, they suspend logic, they suspend reason. That is not limited to Kenya.